Hi everybody, my name is Brandon from Basic Wisdom, and today we'll talk long versus short options. First, just a quick plug for my website, basicwisdom.net. If you go there, you'll find a ton more information on how I can help you pass on the very first try. Today, we're going to dive into detail about the differences between long and short options. And the good news is whatever happens on one side is pretty much the exact opposite on the other. The best way to talk through this is actually by using a T-chart. And I know T-charts are boring and blah, so I'll try to spice it up a little bit. And I'll do that by cloning myself. Yeah, so here I am to help everyone understand options a little bit better. That's literally the only reason why I was created, and I will cease to exist after this. So I guess we're ready to talk about this? Okay. All right. Another way of saying the word long is just buy. If I go long a 50 call, I have just bought a contract that gives me the right to buy stock at $50 a share. Now, on the other side, when you say the word short with options, that's just another way of saying that you've sold an option. When I've sold a contract, it's almost like I'm the one who wrote it up. And that's why they sometimes call me the writer of the contract. But I create a contract that gives this other person over here the right to do something, and I have sold them that contract. When I go long a contract, another way of saying buying that contract, I am purchasing a contract at its premium. I'm paying money out of my pocket, which is another way of saying I have a debit. When I pay for something, a debit hits my account and takes money out of my account. So whenever I buy, I've got a debit. And whenever I sell, I get a credit. This guy over here paid me money to sell him a contract. And whenever I sell something, that's a credit. That's money in my account. So there was a debit to my account because I went long a contract, which is just another way of saying I bought that contract. And the only reason why I would buy a contract is to get the right to do something. The only reason why I'm ever going to exercise this option is if the market goes above 50 bucks per share. If I've got the right to buy at 50, then it doesn't make any sense for me to use it unless the price of the stock is more than that. And I hope that he never uses that right, because I have an obligation to do something I most likely don't want to do. So with our 50 call example, yeah, he's got the right to buy, but I've got the obligation to sell him those shares. The only time that he's going to actually use the contract is if the stock price is above 50 bucks per share. For an example of how bad it can get over here, if the market goes all the way up to $100 per share, that means that he has the right to buy at 50 when the market's at 100, and he's going to use that contract. I think it's pretty simple to see. Now, if I don't already have the shares in my possession, and let's say I don't, that means I have to go to the market, buy the shares for 100 bucks a share, and then just sell it back to him for 50. It's not a great deal, but I only put myself in this position because I was credited a premium and I was paid by the buyer to do this. When you buy a contract, you always want it to go in the money. Translation, I want the market to go in a direction to where it makes sense to use my contract. So once again, with my 50 call, I hope this goes in the money. And anytime the market is above 50 bucks per share, the contract is in the money. It makes sense for me to use it. Even if it's just at $51, if I've got the right to buy that stock at 50 and the market's at 51, then my contract is in the money by one, and that's what I wanted to have happen. Of course, I wanted to go more in the money, and with this example, the higher the market price goes, the more in the money the contract becomes, and the better the deal is for me. As the seller of a contract, I can tell you I always wanted to go out of the money. Remember my previous example where the stock price went way up and we had to go to the market and buy shares and sell them at a way cheap price and lose a ton of money when we did that? Yeah, I would just prefer to avoid all of that. And when we say a contract is out of the money, that's just another way of saying it doesn't make sense for the buyer to use that contract, and they're not going to use it. If you think about it, that just means that I keep the premium that they was paid up front and nothing ever happens. So it sometimes is viewed as like lazy investing. You know, I sell something to someone and I just hope I never ever hear back from them ever again. I don't want to do anything. But that's how it works on the short side. I hope I sell a contract and gain a premium when I do that, and then I never have to do anything down the road. Last really big point here. Buyers always want their contracts to be exercised. And this is kind of a way of saying go in the money and make sense to use it. I buy a contract because I want to gain the right to do something. And in our 50 call example, I paid money to him to gain the right to buy stock at 50. Now, if the market never goes above 50, then it's almost like I've wasted my money. I paid a premium that I never really got back. The most I can lose is how much I paid for the contract. If I don't want to use it, then I just won't use it and I just lost my premium. Now, he might think that exercising options is cool and great, but on my side, I always want them to expire. Remember, out of the money just means it doesn't make sense to use the contract, and that's the best thing for me. Best case scenario for the seller of an option is just to watch that option expire worthless. Well, thank you, Clone Brandon. Appreciate you coming by and helping us understand options a little bit better. If you understand those fundamental pieces of what it means to go long an option or what it means to go short an option, then that'll make your options journey a lot more clean, a lot easier, a lot more efficient. You have to understand the basics before you start moving on to the more complicated and advanced sections. If you're still having trouble with the differences between a buyer and a seller of an option, I can absolutely help bring your knowledge level up in this area. I have a ton of experience both in the real world and in theory world when it comes to options, and I promise you when you sit for the exam, you'll be a lot more prepared if you work with me. So reach out to me. I would love to help you. Thank you everybody for watching this video. We've got a lot more on the YouTube channel, so definitely check out our other videos. Best of luck studying, and I'll see you next time.